Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of Rao's IAS Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates.
Hello everyone and welcome to Daily News Simplified, your one-stop solution to detailed analysis of current affairs which are published in the daily edition of Hindu newspaper and are totally and equally relevant for UPSC preparation. Articles dated 18th of January 2022 are listed on your screen and the timestamping for these articles is already given in the description box. So let us begin with the first article for the day. This article was published on page 6 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and draws the attention of the reader towards the situation which is existing as far as animal husbandry sector in India is concerned. The article points out the important issues faced by the animal husbandry or the livestock rearers and the farmers in the country, especially those who are living in the rural areas. And the most specific problem assigned in this article is the problem of disease control among the animals and the giving of overdoses of antibiotics to these animals, which are now leading towards the antimicrobial resistance among the livestock in India. The article points out that lack of veterinary services in the rural areas has created the issue of low productivity and poor health among the animals reared by the poor farmers. The relevance of this article comes from the fact that in the mains examination General Studies paper 3, there is a specific mention of the economics of animal rearing, and this was once asked by the UPSC in 2015, where they have asked the question directly related to the livestock rearing in the country and its potential and issues. So, given the past trend and the relevance from the syllabus itself, we will look into the issue which were highlighted by the article. We'll also analyze the aspects of livestock census. We'll look into the challenges faced by the livestock sector in India, what government initiatives have been taken in this sector, and possible way forwards which can be used by you in the examinations, specifically in the mains one. So let us begin with the highlights of this article. Well, the article says that 95% of the livestock in the country is reared in the rural areas, specifically by small and marginal farmers. India is a nation with over 6 lakh villages. Despite this fact, there are only 60,000 veterinary centers, most of them being in the private areas, and top quality doctors are available only in the urban centers. The absence of veterinary services compels the farmer to move to the far distances. And this was the issue which was highlighted by the Parliamentary Standing Committee created under the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy. Lack of certified doctors or veterinary doctors has led to the development and spread of quacks and untrained animal health workers that are now becoming popular in rural India. And because of this, they are prescribing the inappropriate administration of antibiotics that will ultimately lead to antimicrobial resistance among the animals and will ultimately lead towards the death of animals which are incurable. And lastly, the article highlights that there is about 20 to 25% loss in the milk production, that is up to 10 liters per day by a single animal due to the spread of diseases which has a reason and the background with lack of veterinary services and increasing AMR. As far as current status of livestock in the country is concerned, well, in 2019-20 there was a livestock census which was published by the ministry. This was the 20th census in this regard and it is compiled under the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy. This census is conducted every 5 years and the last census which was conducted was published in 2019-20. It covers all the domesticated animals and their head counts. The census for the first time was conducted in online mode also. The observation of the census says that India overall have 535 million livestock population, which is the highest in the world. Among this population, the highest share comes from the cattle itself, followed by goats in the country. And on the third position, we have buffalo. So you should have the basic understanding of this order, as this may be asked in the prelim examination as one of the pointer. From the regional perspective, the highest share goes to West Bengal, followed by Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. And on the other hand, we can learn from this table that South Indian states, for example, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and others, they do not have much population of cattle vis-a-vis the states like West Bengal, UP, MP, Bihar, and Maharashtra. Similarly, there was another observation which was made in this census that there is an increase in the exotic or the crossbreed in the country. On the other hand, there is a decline of 6% among the indigenous or the nondescript population of cattle. This brings to the conclusion that the adoption of the outer species or the exotic species in the country is increasing, that may jeopardize the fauna diversity of the country. And this will also lead towards the commercialization of the exotic breed vis-a-vis the indigenous breeds. Let us now move towards the major challenges faced by the livestock sector in the country. The first challenge faced by the livestock sector is the productivity. Improving productivity of farm animal is one of the major challenge. In India, the average annual milk yield of Indian cattle is 1172 kg, which is just 50% of the global production of the cattle. On the disease front, well, there is a frequent outbreak of diseases like foot and mouth disease, or the diseases like black water infection, and also the influenzas, which affects the livestock health as well as their productivity. Excess of livestock in India is also responsible for the distribution and the generation of greenhouse gases, especially the methane, which ultimately end up adding towards the global warming. And reducing the greenhouse gases through mitigation and adaptation strategy will pose a challenge towards the maintenance of livestock in India. Then also comes the crossbreeding of indigenous species. Coming of the exotic stock of animals to enhance their genetic potential of different species has been successful, but that will limit the existing indigenous diversity which India has been holding for many centuries now. Then we have the issue of limited veterinary services. This includes the availability of quality sperms, rural infrastructure, skilled manpower, and availability of medical aid. All this has ended up providing the limited artificial insemination services. And when the animal gets sick or get ill or is affected by different diseases, that animal end up not being cured on time and will ultimately die. That also raises the burden of cost on the farmer who is already marginal and poor. Then comes the issue of insurance. As of now, only 6 to 7% of the animal heads, which excludes the poultry, are provided the insurance cover, and only 5% of the farm household have one or the other form of information related to the insurance sector. Then comes the issue of fodder availability. As we have been shifting more towards the commercialization of the agriculture, and that too with the monoculture of rice and wheat. The cultivable wasteland which is available in India is directly shifting towards the commercial crops, or they are shifting towards the horticulture, leaving less room and space for the expansion of fodder production, storage, and marketing. And limited fodder also provide the limited scope for expanding and maintaining the livestock by the farmer. Lastly, we have the issue of market access. Indian farmers who are producer of milk or milk related products find it easy to get their products processed and marketed inside the country. We have very well developed cooperative sector. For example, the Amul. On the other hand, when it comes to the market access in the international markets, Indian farmers are either incapable of doing that. If they are capable of doing that, the policy initiatives as well as the international market prices does not allow them to experiment more or expand their businesses beyond the frontiers. Given this issues, let us see what government has done by now. Well, government has initiated these 10 important programs. So once this kind of question or any mains related questions is asked in the examination on livestock sector and the government initiative, you can quote these schemes with detailed analysis. The first scheme is National Livestock Mission. This scheme focuses on the entrepreneurship development and breed improvement of poultry, sheep, goat, and piggery, which will also include the development of feed and fodder. Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund was created to provide over 15,000 crore rupees in order to develop the infrastructure related to animal husbandry under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan Stimulus Package. Rashtriya Gokul Mission was started with two important programs. The first one being the National Program for Bovine Breeding and National Mission for Bovine Productivity. Both of them targeting towards increasing the productivity of bovine animals in the country. Government has also started Kisan Credit Card to livestock farmers. As of now, according to the Ministry of Dairy, over 13 lakh Kisan credit cards have already been distributed to the beneficiaries. Government has also started the National Program for Dairy Development, under which government has an objective to enhance the quality of milk and milk products. It will also help in increasing the organized milk procurement. The Dairy Processing and Infrastructure Development Fund was announced in 2017-18 budget and has focused upon creating a corpus of over 8,000 crores with an objective to provide subsidized loans to milk cooperatives. This fund functions under the National Bank for Agricultural and Rural Development, that is NABARD. Then we have supporting dairy cooperatives and farmer producer organization, in which the government will engage in providing working capital loans to state cooperative and federations. Livestock Health and Disease Control Program aims towards reducing the risk to animal health by vaccinating against the diseases faced by livestock and poultry area. Then we have National Animal Disease Control Program, which focus on two important diseases. The first one being the foot and mouth disease, and the second one is brucellosis. And the last initiative of the government is livestock census and integrated sample survey, on which we have already made a discussion in the previous slides. So, if you have to write any of these programs or measures in the measures taken by the government, as you can see, each and every program have different objectives, right from providing funds to animal care to census and others. You can quote these initiatives to gain good marks in the mains examination. But despite these schemes, there are certain way forwards which are required to revamp this sector for the further growth. Well, these are the extra, or you can say add-on way forwards which you can put in the question if it is asked on this particular area. The first one is the expansion of veterinary infrastructure across the nation, not only to those states where there is excess livestock. It should be a universal accessibility. We also need to require and expand the mobile veterinary vans, which was also one of the highlight of the article which we have discussed. We require door-to-door awareness on the expansion of antimicrobial resistance among the animals and aware people to use least amount of antibiotics on their animals. We require on-demand insemination service across the nation with special focus on the rural areas. We require easy credit against the livestock. We need full coverage of the insurance and timely redressal of the claims. Because most of the time what farmers, especially the poor farmer, faces is that even if they have got their animals insured, the animals which are insured, if they die out of certain diseases and others, the claims made by the companies are very much delayed, which goes against the financial security of the poor farmer. Government could also develop the livestock export zones in order to promote the exports in milk products. This could be developed on the line of special economic zones. We require hands-on training to the youth on disease control and vaccination program. We also need to develop the indigenous breeds, which are mostly reared by small and marginal farmers who cannot afford the exotic breeds. And lastly, we also require the support from NGOs and the civil society, not only for the awareness generation but also for the skill development. In 2012, a working group was created under the Planning Commission, and this working group has provided ample suggestions for development of animal husbandry in India. And the suggestion of this working group can also be taken up for the development of this sector. With this discussion in place, now I will leave you this important question to answer. Try to write the answer to this question in about 250 words within the time limit of 10 to 11 minutes. And also try to solve this question. This is a prelims related MCQ. So read this question carefully and try to answer in the comment box. Let us now move to the next article for the day. This article was published on page 10 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about the Kathak legend Pandit Birju Maharaj, who died recently. As far as article is concerned, so we'll read it from the perspective of art and culture, both for your prelim examination as well as the mains examination. Well, Pandit Birju Maharaj was a Kathak maestro belonging to Lucknow Gharana. Gharana here simply means the school of thought, and in this case it was a school of classical Kathak dance. He was awarded Padma Vibhushan and he is known for dancing on the stories of Krishna and Radha and their divine romance. From this article, what is important for UPSC is that we should know basics about the Kathak dance and its classical relevance. Now the question arises why we should read about classical dances. Well, from the past evidences of prelim examination, every candidate should know that UPSC has a habit of asking on dances, whether they are folk dances or the classical one. So in 2015 they have asked on folk dances. In 2014 they have asked on Satriya dance. In 2012 they have just asked the differences between the Kuchipudi and Bharatnatyam dances. So, given the kind of importance given by the UPSC towards the dance forms in art and culture, we should read about Kathak dance as well. Well, Kathak is one of the 8 major classical dances of India and only classical dance from North India. The Kathak dance is derived from the travelling bards from ancient northern India who were known as Kathakar or storytellers. So from Katha, it is derived as Kathak, the one who speaks the stories through dance forms. So Kathak dancer actually tells the various stories. So Birju Maharaj, when he used to dance, he used to tell the stories of Radha and Krishna. And the movement of hand and the extensive footwork is used to derive the expressions in this dance form along with the facial expressions also. The Kathak dance actual origin is still not available to the historians. However, this dance form got evolution and expansion during the Bhakti movement when there was a rise in Vaishnavite movement. The themes of the dance include the childhood and the other stories of Hindu god Lord Krishna. This dance form has a unique feature as it culminates into the blending of Hindu and Muslim traditions and their gharanas. There are 3 important gharanas or school of thought or school of dances in Kathak, and Kathak is the only classical dance which has gharana tradition. These gharanas or school of dances are known by the cities where they were developed. They include Jaipur Gharana, Banaras Gharana and Lucknow Gharana. The earliest surviving text of Kathak has roots in the Natya Shastra, which was written by sage Bharat. It was compiled around 200 BC to 200 CE, and since then this tradition has continued. However, as I said previously, it was expanded, developed and deepened during the Bhakti movement. As you can see from this image, there are 2 performers of Kathak. Kathak dance also includes both male and female, unlike the other dance forms or the classical dance forms like Mohini Attam, where only female are the dancers. Kathak dance include the attire which was developed during the Mughal period, and anarkali dresses are most specifically used by the females in this dance form. The important instruments which are used in this dance form is tabla and harmonium. The importance of ghungru is given from the fact that entrancing footwork is important in this dance form. With this discussion in place, now I will leave you with this practice question related to Kathak dance. So read this question carefully and try to answer in the comment box. Let us now move to the next article for the day. This article was published in the text and context part of the Hindu newspaper. And the article says that following the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech at Haldwani, where he has stated that the road construction was going on in and around the Lepu Lake. Going by this statement, the people in Nepal have lodged and demanded a response by the Prime Minister of Nepal, because now the people in Nepal is going through the frontier nationalism, where they are considering a particular territory as a matter of nationalism and honor. This brings us to the important issue of Kala Pani, which was there in the news last year and even in 2020. The relevance of this article provide us the brief background, historical importance, the locational factor of Kala Pani, and also about the Nepali nationalism towards the Kala Pani territory. The relevance of this article from the syllabus mapping is important, as this area could be asked in the prelims for map work. For the mains examination, this is related to India's relationship with its neighbor, part of General Studies paper 2. The territory of Kala Pani is situated in the eastern part of Uttarakhand state and has a border with Nepal. The area Kala Pani is situated near the Lepu Lake Pass, which connects India to the Tibetan part of China. As you can see in this map, this area of China is the Tibet or Tibetan Plateau. This area is used by India to transfer and travel the devotees who are going to Kailash Mansarovar, which is situated in the southwestern part of Tibet Plateau. Historically, this region was under Indian territory because India was utilizing the map which was generated by the East India Company through the Treaty of Sugauli, which was signed in 1816. As per this treaty, Kali River, as you can see on the right side map, that this is the Kali River. So I'll just draw it for you to make a basic understanding. So as you can see, this is the basic Kali River in the red shaded portion. And as per the Treaty of Sugauli, this Kali River acted as a boundary or a frontier between Indian East India Company territory and the Nepalese territory. So after India's independence in 1947, the area which was on the western side of Kali River was under India, and the area which was on the eastern side of Kali River was Nepal's territory. However, the real issue arises with the origin of Kali River. Now, as you can see, that there are two important areas highlighted in this map. The first one is Lempu Darya, and the second one is the Kala Pani. Now, India considered Kala Pani as the origin of Kali River. With that regard, this would become the frontier between India and Nepal. So every area which is on the western side, including the Kuthi area, the Lempu Darya, will remain under India's territory. On the other hand, Nepal claims that the origin of Kali River is at Lempu Darya. Hence, the border of India and Nepal is like this, which simply means that this area will remain under Nepal's control. Now, as we have said, that Lepulik Pass is as of now under India's territory. India is building road towards Lepulik Pass. So, Nepal is claiming that India is building on the territory which is claimed by Nepal and which should belong to Nepal. So basically, Kala Pani issue is about the issue related to the real origin of Kali River. If the origin is at Kala Pani, then the Lepulek would pass towards India. If the origin is Lembu Darya, the Lepulek Pass and Kalapani would go inside the territory of Nepal. Over past many decades, this issue was not considered to be very active. However, because of the political instability in the democratically unstable government of Nepal, Prime Minister Oli from Nepal has brought up the issue, making it a pride of Nepalese nationalism and fueled the controversy in order to remove the attention from the local issues and the fight against COVID pandemic. And this was the argument which was mentioned in the article. From UPSC perspective, it is important for you to understand the map and basic location of these places and also about the Treaty of Sugoli 1816. To understand more on the Kalapani issue as well as the other issue related to India's border, you can follow the DNS dated 16th of January 2021 where we have discussed India's Kalapani issue with Nepal. With this discussion placed, let us now move to the last article for the day. This article was published as a part of Text and Context in the Hindu newspaper. The article talks about the Oxfam report. It is one of the international NGO that publishes report on inequality. The report has not only highlighted the problems of developing countries including India, but the report has also highlighted the issue associated with the current pandemic of COVID-19 and how this pandemic has affected positively to the rich class and negatively to the poor class. Well, Oxfam is an international NGO which is based in the United Kingdom and consists of 21 charitable organizations. The report which it has published is titled as Inequality Kills, the unparalleled action needed to combat the unprecedented inequality in the wake of COVID-19. The report says that due to COVID-19, there is an unprecedented inequality in every nation possible across the world. It has substantiated this argument through different data as well as evidences. And the report has also provided some of the possible way forwards. And from the UPSC perspective, you can use these way forwards provided by the Oxfam report. For your General Studies Paper 2, in issues related to governance, poverty and hunger, and you can use these initiatives in GS Paper 1 Society section. Some of these arguments can also be utilized for your essay paper when it is asked related to the economic inequality, status of women or the vulnerable sections. Well, the report has highlighted the arguments through these evidences. Report has said that pandemic of COVID-19 has created the biggest surge in billionaires' wealth. World's 10 richest men have doubled their fortune, that is just 100% rise, while over 160 million, which is around 16 crore people, are projected to be pushed into the poverty. And mostly these people belong to Asia and African country. Report says that because of this inequality, there are 21,300 people die every day. This is the starking reality and could be used as one of the best argument to support the outcome of inequality across the world in your mains examination. The reasons behind these many deaths, as per the report, were hunger, denial of equality, denial of healthcare to the poor people, gender based violence, and the role of patriarchy. As we know, India has all these important issues because of which Indian inequality is widening as ever. Report also highlighted that this rising inequality because of the COVID crisis, there is a leading crime and violence, and there is also a less social trust across the world. Now understand this in this manner. Suppose that there is a poor person who is the only bread earner in a family. Now this person is infected with, let's say, COVID-19 virus, and because of lack of vaccination or because of lack of healthcare facility, this person actually die. Now as this person is dead, the people who were dependent on this person, let's say wife, parents, children, and others, will be forced into the vicious circle of poverty. There is lack of education, there is lack of good food, there is lack of vaccination, and the children of this family will grow up with lack of facilities and basic human rights that will ultimately lead to the further impoverishment of the next generation and the expansion of poverty to the larger extent. And this is the case which was highlighted by this report. This report has also highlighted one of the important aspects which is related to the climate change. As per the report, the carbon intensive production system which we have across the world, such as the use of coal for energy production, has favored the rich countries because we know that power generation from coal or the production of cars is mostly seen in the rich countries. But this increasing of carbon intensive production is shifting the risk to the poor countries, especially the poor island nations of Pacific Ocean. And lastly, report also highlight that the wealthiest 1% of the humanity are responsible for twice as much emission as the poorest 50% of the world. Last 2 points can be used for your General Studies paper 3 as well as essay paper on climate change and environment. Apart from these arguments, the report has provided some way forward which you can use on multiple grounds in different papers. The first is that the report argued that vaccine technology, which has been limited to few nations, should be made an open source so that every other nation, every other country, every other manufacturer in the world can produce that. There should be a higher taxation on the super rich, and that fund could be utilized for the development of poor people. The spatial drawing rights of International Monetary Fund could be utilized to help the vulnerable economies. Permanent cancellation should be brought for tax havens, and progressive taxation should be brought on the multinational corporations. Government should adopt the redistributing power where they should promote the workers' union so that they can go for better conditions and living standards. They should also call for political representation, especially the vulnerable sections like backward classes and the women, and also asserting for better human rights, irrespective of the person or the place they are residing. These suggestions are very good pointers for your mains examination, so you can keep them as noted. With this discussion placed, now I will leave you with this question of the day. So read this question carefully and try to answer in the comment box. That's all for today's Daily News Simplified. Thank you.